Today on the Topping Show, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Jackson Brown compares transitioning kids to interracial marriage. The Jaguar Type 00 in gold is roasted online with about 3 people liking it. Daniel Penny prosecutor admits that she gives preferential treatment to minorities. Chipotle raises prices to do inflation. United Healthcare CEOs killed in the streets in New York and evil leftists celebrate. Target is getting a lawsuit from the Pride backlash as investors say that they did what was not best for their interest. And a cucumber recall is expanded to 35 states. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show, it's proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase. Yes, you can attach it to a standard AR-15 Picatinny rail thanks to an adapter. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more, and it is also in the description. Lastly, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by Christmas, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part podcast, you have Chipotle raising their prices by 2% due to inflation. This is not great news for the already luxury fast food chain, because again, it's already pretty expensive, and I don't remember last time people could afford the guac, which, thanks to the Urban Dictionary, I know is short for guacamole. Now, this comes to us thanks to NBC News, in which they say, quote, Chipotle says it's raising prices by 2% in response to inflation. Traffic at the burrito eatery continues to be steady in analyst reports, so there's a silver lining to the situation, since, especially when it comes to brick and mortar retail, or in this case, I guess this is still considered fast food or fast-ish food. Well, foot traffic is half the battle, getting people to go in the door and actually shop at your establishment. Now, this is credited to Rob Weil, who's a writer at NBC, and he says, quote, Chipotle is raising its menu prices by 2%, a rare direct admission about the impact of ongoing prices and increasing the economy in the United States with financing, which sounds all awkward as hell, but read exactly as typed. Now, I also have Chipotle's chief corporate affairs officer saying, quote, for the first time in over a year, we are taking a modest price increase of approximately 2% nationally to offset inflation. Again, that is thanks to Lori Shallow, who's the Chipotle's chief corporate affairs officer, which, yeah, it's about half and half in terms of companies being transparent, just saying, oh yeah, it's because of inflation, where some of them will be try to be more political and just say, oh, there's a myriad of variables we can't control, which it's true to a certain extent, but it is funny that that's a controversial thing, but kind of gets into politics, but I partially digress. They say, quote, the comment came in part as a response to an analyst report by Trust Securities Financial Group that observed a 2% increase at 20% in Chipotle locations surveyed, which soon to be 100% of those locations, unfortunately. They know that Chipotle is in a period of transition after the exit of CEO Brian Nicole, who was poached by Starbucks in August. Shares Chipotle dropped on the news of Nicole's departure, but since climbed 23%, are up 42% year to date, which, again, for the umpteenth time, not financial advice. Granted, hindsight's always 20/20, especially when it comes to investing. I'm surprised their sales have been going up this much, especially because none of this is necessary. It's all luxury. I mean, for the love of Christ, if you want to save money, just pack a sandwich. You can eat at a fraction of the cost of these places, but I partially digress. Now, they know that they are acknowledging that a lot of people have been complaining about the prices and not very happy about it. I mean, it's been going online for a while. People complaining about the fast food, especially McDonald's and Chipotle. They're getting a lot of the negative attention because the receipts are almost comical. I mean, shoot, I know someone spent $30 to $40 on a meal at McDonald's in 2024, which, back in my day, you could buy the whole store for that much. I mean, I'm only partially kidding, but the prices are that outrageous. Now, they also know that, more and more restaurants are struggling from the same issues, and NBC suspects that many others will increase their costs as well, which not good for consumers, and can't help but wonder U.S. just passed $1 trillion of credit card debt for consumers for the first time. I just wonder, when is the breaking point when people start to cut back on their extravagant spending? It would also be fascinating. It would be interesting to see the statistical breakdown of all the different things that go into those credit card debts, but still, I mean, not good news for Chipotle consumers. Granted, I haven't been there for a decade, so it doesn't affect me too much. For me, I'll notice it more. Well, the Walmart groceries is usually my main expenditure when it comes to food, but I personally digress. Is 2% enough for you to stop shopping at Chipotle? Do you think we'll see a trend of other fast food companies also increasing their cost of goods sold? Let me know, because as always, it'll be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Going over to the cultural part podcast, you have United Healthcare CEO killed in the streets of New York. Remember, New York has a brand, which is a infamous quote by Mayor Eric Adams. Now, warning, this is, well, a little bit graphic. For a couple days, I debated how much I wanted to show about this specific topic because it's so morbid. And I know this is kind of late news. It happened last week, for Christ's sake. But, I mean, there's no sound. I'll still show the video. But big disclaimer, if you have kids watching, definitely not an appropriate episode. It's not too graphic. You don't see a lot of blood, but it's still someone passing away on screen. So I'll probably just show it for a second or two. And even more concerning, I mean, it seems like a majority of the comments online are people that are praising this perpetrator. Now, there's a lot of theories of wondering, is this a hitman or an assassin, or is it a rogue? I mean, a lot of people are saying it's a rogue individual, maybe someone who was denied coverage, or a family member was denied coverage, which in the United States, we have the worst of both worlds. In my opinion, you have way too much government interference with insurance, especially health insurance these days. And you also have the health insurance companies in the private sector battling with the government. I just think it's way too bloated. If you were to deregulate it dramatically, I think the cost of goods sold or the cost of goods, it would go down a lot. Very similar to how in the United States, LASIK eye surgery is a luxury. I say it because, legally speaking, most policies do not cover it. So that's a good example of a healthcare related service that's more privatized, where you only get it if you pay cash or credit card. And in that case, the cost of goods sold could just gone down dramatically because all the individuals, all these different LASIK eye companies, they had to compete to earn your business. Not so much when you have a doctor or your health insurance plan where it says, oh yeah, you only can go to these two doctors that are in your, what is that rudimentary term they always like to use in healthcare coverage? It's in your network, so to say. But I partially digress. Going to the article again, graphic warning. This comes to us thanks to somebody named of Nuff Said on X. And you can see the CEO on the left, and it says, quote, graphic warning, thieving. Again, it's the whole foot. This individual obviously not a fan of insurance companies, which I understand. A lot of people have had a lot of friction with them. A lot of people denied. A lot of people think it's unfair. I know a couple folks who, I mean, their kids are alive because they had exceptional coverage because their employer could afford it. I know it's one of the most culturally controversial and even politically controversial things in the United States. And the way this individual phrases it, I think, is emblematic of that. He says, quote, a thieving insurance company called United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was gunned down in the filthy state of New York. So they got part of it right, because I think New York, which is also ironic. Well, I'm not trying to be funny or bombastic right now. I don't think it's coincidence that some of the areas in the United States that have the highest crime rates are gun-free zones and places that you are not allowed to defend yourself. New York is one of 8 states in the United States where you can't own a suppressor. Interestingly enough, this bad guy had one. And a lot of people are suspecting, given the nature of buying a suppressor in the United States, he probably got it. A lot of people theorizing, again, no evidence of this yet, that he was flown in illegally with an illegal firearm, or rather a firearm that was purchased in the United States. Because if you want to buy a suppressor in the United States, if you live in those 42 awesome states, you have to pay a $200 tax stamp thanks to the U.S. Treasury Department, thanks to the NFA Act of 1934. You also have to, of course, go through ridiculous additional background checks. You have to go through a photo ID being taken, or rather a passport photo being taken. You have to be fingerprinted, and it takes, for a trust, about 6 to 9 months to get that suppressor back. Individual, now it's a little bit shorter, but it's still such a burdensome amount of paperwork, most people don't do it. Now, again, for this quick little video here, I'll make sure it's muted here. So you can see this individual. I won't actually show him being shot, but there you see someone, a guy in a hoodie, a backpack. Obviously, he's not suited up. And ridiculously enough, the CEO is, well, he's wearing a suit like all good men should, but he's alone. This is one of the largest, most, I would say, somewhat people respect and disrespect, but it's one of the largest, most, for a lot of people, important for the jobs, for the coverage. It's a very large, if not the largest health insurance company in the United States. And again, a lot of people really have a disdain for the health insurance industry. A lot of people don't like them. That being said, I'm just astonished he doesn't have his own private security detail. I mean, if I was at his level, I'd also have a bulletproof suit. because yeah, partially for the novelty, but yeah, you can buy them for about a couple $1,000s. If you're worth millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, and you're in an industry and you're leading a company that some people might have a favor towards, it's so unfathomable that he didn't have a security detail. Like even when I used to work at corporate America, I used to work at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and our CEO was pretty controversial in the fact that she did massive layoffs, which again many people would argue was needed to make the company more attractive, well, easier to split the company to two separate legal entities, as well as keep the company afloat as expenses has got out of control. And it was not competitive with any other IT company at the time. And even she had a couple bodyguards, I believe, and I met him when she came, and they were quite polite. I met him at a speaking event. And I mean, this is a situation where healthcare insurance industry is much more, there's a lot more salty individuals when it comes to it. So the conspiracy theories are going through the roof. And yeah, the fact that, yeah, he had no bodyguards, like, how is that possible? And this went pretty well. I got 10.2 million views and 83,000 likes. And culturally speaking, it's kind of concerning the comments because, again, a lot of people praising that this individual had his life prematurely taken from him. And this is also the umpteenth reason not to visit New York, is if you need another one. Now, one of the first comments comes from Get Clipta, says, what kind of CEO that owns a huge company walks in public in the streets of New York without security guard LMFAO? Gained 6.3 thousand likes, which, yeah, I mean, even, it's almost unfathomable. Someone with his net worth, with his controversial industry, how do you not have at least one bodyguard, if not an entourage? I mean, we see douchebag celebrities with multiple entourages, just a guard from paparazzi and photos being taken of them. I mean, of all the industries, and let me know in the comments, I think culturally, politically, just in the United States, insurance is probably one of the most controversial industries that a lot of people have a lot of disdain for. I would venture to say, on average, more people have a disdain for insurance companies than tobacco companies or alcohol companies because of the controversy of some things being covered, some people's not, some things, some drugs, some procedures not being covered versus being covered. It's very, and again, healthcare, especially if you're in need, it's one of the most emotionally situations where, again, one of your family members might be in ailment, and the number one reason why Americans go bankrupt in the United States is health debt cost. So they get hurt, they go to the hospital, they can't afford it, and it makes them go bankrupt, which again is even more an additional factor of why it's such a visually emotionally charged situation. You also have Say Less TV saying that was definitely a hit, getting 18,000 likes, which okay, I'll show the first couple seconds here. And again, graphic warning, don't have kids watch this. But yeah, it does look like a hit. So there's a lot of speculation on what kind of handgun he's using. And yeah, so he takes a shot. Now, there's a lot of speculation of why this is considered a professional assassin. Now, it appears to say he's using a semi-automatic firearm, but he's cycling the slide manually, which you would only do, which again, some pistols do have that feature if you want to have it all be very quiet. Because again, a loud noise is the cycling of the slide going back and forth. In some cases, that's more louder than the firearm actually discharging in and of itself. Now, that being said, he's in the street in New York. It's pretty relatively abandoned, so maybe you don't want to make so much noise. But let's see here. Maybe how many times he does it. It's even more of the cowardice of New York and the culture of New York. Who's this person? So this person's just, jeez. Which again, everyone's adult. There's an age-old saying, everyone's a hero in their own mind. I mean, courage is really known and really not truly known until it's tested. So we would all like to say, if you're standing right there, you jump after that guy, you'd save the day. Who knows how many of us would really do it if we were truly testing that situation. But again, it is sad that there was someone there who just ran away, who is not but 5 feet from the perpetrator. Yeah, about 5 feet. Now, a lot of people speculating it looks like the handgun is jamming because he's hitting it awkwardly a couple times, in addition to trying to manipulate the slide. Now, a lot of people are also speculating that the suppressor is not properly attached to the Nielsen device, which, again, not to get into mechanics of firearms too much, but if you just take a can or a suppressor, some call it, just directly thread it onto the barrel, like if there isn't the Nielsen device, that means there isn't the proper spring in the can to actually move back and forth, you'll get jams. It's a fascinating science and engineering. Google it later, or not, you'll get put on a list probably, but I'm only partially kidding. But a lot of people are speculating that's why he had such issues. And again, people are driving by, doing nothing. There's a couple people across the street. And a lot of people speculating, I mean, by now, it's been over a week. He's probably flown to Honduras or, some country that doesn't have extradition. And I mean, it definitely looks premeditated. This isn't someone who's just standing next to him and just had a freak out, so to say. This is someone who was very calculated in their approach. He also, I think, strategically chose an area where, I mean, there's security cameras. So, I mean, it wasn't, I guess, thought out the best it could be, perhaps. But there's very little, if anyone, around. There's one or two other people, and they did nothing. And, yeah. Now you also have, let's see here. Big Desi saying, didn't need that warning. This shit isn't all that graphic, bro. Getting 2.2 thousand likes, which, yeah, you don't see, it's not a lot of blood or anything, but it's still morbid to see someone pass away on camera. That's why I debate even, that's why for days I even debated even putting this on my show. But I think because of the business, the cultural, it is one of the largest stories out there. I think you'll see a ripple effect, not only culturally, but in industry-wide in terms of securities and practices. I decided it's worth covering. You have Angelica Reed saying didn't get covered by insurance, getting, oh, geez, that's morbid, 11,000 likes. Now, Chris McKenna says, I unfortunately think this is a sign of things to come. People are completely fed up with the rigged two-tiered system. If the system won't reform itself, people need to take matters to their own, I don't recommend this, take matters into their own hands, which, again, that does nothing for this individual. Nothing, their life isn't changing, getting 688 likes, or who knows, maybe they got a big payout or they were hired gunmen. But, I mean, yeah, if it's up to me, we do need changes, but, I mean, again, we've talked about this in nauseum, but the best way to affect any change is, this peaceful protest, just writing. In this case, you wouldn't just write to your senators, but in this case, you'd write to the CEO. If you really want to make change, you buy shares of the company. They're a publicly traded entity. If you get enough shares, you can actually vote people off the board of directors. You can actually, you have a say in their policies. And if enough customers were irate, they would change. If enough employees told their main employer, hey, we don't want this, we don't want them anymore, we want a different provider, that would have a huge multiplier effect, since a lot of people do get their health care coverage from their primary employer in the United States. You also have, let's see here, Kai saying the other CEOs after today, and I forget this, I don't know what movie this is, but someone sitting on a bed getting 963 likes. Tyler says his gun kept jamming, LOL, getting 189 likes. Let's see. Ryan Estabrook says suppressed pistol, that's a legit hit job. Oh my effing god, getting 589 likes. Celine says, why are these things always filmed on a potato, getting 1.3 thousand likes, which it's a standard security film, or I guess these days it's digital, it's not film per se. But yeah, a lot of companies skip out on that. Well, not just because, I mean, the odds are very low, you'll never ever need it, but also the high resolution, the video, the astronomically more expensive it is to actually contain all that data. I mean, just going from a 1080p video to 4K is about 4 times the data. I mean, for this show, I've passed, what was it, a couple terabytes of raw data for the video, and that's just a 1 hour daily podcast. Those security cameras are going 24/7. Now, again, depending on your industry and kind of what your compliances are, you might have to, by law, save it for, a day, a month, or some people even save, some places even store that data for years. But yeah, it really is mainly a cost issue, in my opinion, because, again, the more high resolution the video is, it just costs so much money. Just look up on the Amazon or the Google, like, how much a 20 terabyte external hard drive is. And again, all that data just adds up exponentially. And there are very few businesses willing to pay for, 4K resolution video, and you also, statistically speaking, you won't need it that much. Let's see here. Any other contrarian statements? Crazy Tech says this is undoubtedly a hit, no question. Silencer handling of the gun, the calmness, incredibly sad, but obviously a hit, getting 101 likes. El Oso says some of y'all need Jesus, getting 83 likes. Let's see. Old Words says someone got a claim denied, getting 27 likes. Lainey She says, how did New York catch a stray, getting 106 likes. Let's see here. So I did a screenshot. King Flyams says this was an assassination, getting 102 likes, and just a screenshot of the situation right before the gunman pulled the trigger, which, to me, it certainly looks premeditated. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised. Wonder what what would the motivation be for like a large conspiracy theory? Let me know in the comments. A lot of people are suspicious that someone got denied coverage of a family member or loved one, and maybe that's why they hired this individual. Akio Fuji says, quote, because RFK Jr. is going to expose all the corruption in healthcare, getting 27 likes. Well, I mean, that might be the reason. I'm kind of skeptical on that. Well, and yeah, I mean, I'm just so flabbergasted he didn't have proper security detail. Because a lot smaller companies have much more robust security practices, as well as that. You also have a fun poll. XAMES says, quote, there are no random murders, pick a choice. So people are the four options are, why did this individual have his life taken from him? The options are Epstein, ex-employee, upcoming layoffs, healthcare denied. Which, I mean, usually ex-employees aren't that irate. If I were to guess, if this was an individual who hired this individual, or if this, because of the emotional, I think most people know someone who has been detrimentally hurt because they didn't have the proper coverage or something was denied. I'm going to guess the poll is mainly healthcare denied. Let's look at it. 70.8% say healthcare denied. 4.3% said upcoming layoffs. 11% said ex-employee. 13.9% said Epstein. The poll got only 2 likes. So, I mean, the upside of the situation, I always try to think of a silver lining, try to stay positive. I guess the silver lining is there's a lot of people I know that I won't hire thanks to their posts on social media because they are giving accolades saying, this good for this. A lot of people are being bombastically happy that this individual's life is prematurely taken, which, yeah, that's in my opinion, for sure sign you should never hire them. But let me know in the comments. At the end of the day, do you think we'll know? I mean, at the end of the day, was this a professional hit job? Was this an individual actor? And do you think, I think they will, but do you think most other insurance companies are going to radically change their security policies? And what does it say when more than half the comments, and again, this acts as international. I think a lot of folks on there are also U.S. citizens, but what does it say about our society when there's so many people that are happy from this death? Let me know in the comments because, as always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have Target getting a lawsuit because of the Pride backlash as shareholders are irate. Now, this comes to us thanks to the OG search engine back in the day, Yahoo Finance, and it's also a repost by Reuters. And they say, quote, Target must face shareholder lawsuit over Pride backlash, U.S. judge rules, which is a very big deal. One of the big reasons I think we're going to see a lot more companies dropping the whole DEI initiatives. Now, scrolling down to the substance of the article, this is also credited to Mike Skurla, who's right over there, saying, quote, Target has failed to persuade a judge in Florida to dismiss a lawsuit that accused the retailer of deceiving shareholders after its sales of LGBTQ-themed merchandise for Pride Month sparked a backlash and a customer boycott. And, quote, to me, the more controversial thing was the child-targeted LGBTQY stuff and the trans stuff. Again, they had a metallic enamel pin. Don't get me wrong, it was probably great Chinese metal, but they had a pin with Satan on it that said, Satan respects pronouns. I'm not being bombastic when I say they hired a satanic designer. They quite literally did. He was as bizarre mentally as he was physically. That's coming from me. And yeah, they also had the tuck swimsuit so you could tuck your junk, and they had stuff targeting kids. To me, that was a big controversy. They've had Pride stuff for well over a decade. They were one of the first stores to really go all into that. Kind of ironic, they used to be a faith-based, family-owned company, but I partially digress. And a lot of people are saying, Target chose to do that, but that is not what was best for the business. And there's a lot of speculation. Do shareholders have a case to mount against these companies? They're not acting in the best faith of the shareholders, and this is a big deal. Now, they say, quote, U.S. District Judge John Baldamenti in Fort Myers ruled that the plaintiffs had presented enough information for now to persuade claims that Target misled investors about its efforts to guard against social and political risk. The lawsuit from investor Brian Craig claims that Target's board focused on activist groups' calls for diversity, equity, and inclusion, measures that overlooked potential negative responses to the Pride campaign in May 2023. Now, they say, quote, America First Legal, which A+ for marketing, exactly their stance, a conservative group that filed the lawsuit last year in a statement called the court ruling a, quote, a warning to publicly traded corporations and boards and management. The group said that the risk of DEI programs and environmental, social, and governance initiatives cannot be whitewashed with boilerplate language or ignored. Target had urged Baldamenti to dismiss the lawsuit, arguing that there's no evidence backing the allegations, that it had warned investors about potential DEI backlash, and the complaint was merely based on Craig's disagreement with the company's business decisions. Yeah, don't forget they lost billions of dollars, as well as the stock being viscerally destroyed. Now, more recently, they've been destroyed because, fiscally speaking, the sales aren't great. It dropped like 21% a couple weeks ago. Now, they also know that America First filed the lawsuit in Florida federal court. The nonprofit group is headed by Stephen Miller, a close advisor to U.S. President-elect Donald J. Trump. America First and other conservative groups have accused some major U.S. companies of undertaking diversity and inclusion efforts at the expense of shareholders. Fact check, true. Target pulled some LGBTQ-themed merchandise linked to Pride Month last year, citing increased confrontations between shoppers and employees. No, it's because of the social media online backlash. We saw very little, if no evidence, of actual real confrontation. Remember, he had the bomb threats that turned out to be a nothing burger, just made up? Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, I'm kind of curious. Go into the comment section, which kind of get lucky every once in a while. The Yahoo has that. I love the pop-ups. What's the click rate for a pop-up? Like 0.001%, yet companies still do them on them internets. Now, one of the first comments and most liked one comes from Paul, who says, quote, how much is Target now spending on legal fees? It is a tough competitive retail climate. The expenses are completely avoidable, but they insisted on inserting their brand and shareholders in the middle of politically divisive issues. True. Gained 51 upvotes and 9 downvotes, which, yeah, Target's, they're not doing great. They got about, I think, what was that, 4.2% profit margin, which, again, for retail, well, for groceries is good, but again, a grocery store on average is about 2% profit. Target, of course, sells a lot of things. Oh, I would say mostly crap you don't need when you look at, all the SKUs and what you really don't need versus what you need. But yeah, their profits have been decreasing and their sales have been plummeting like a rock. Trucker says, as a shareholder of hundreds of companies, I want them to be run by the most competent personnel without alienating the customer base. Target has done neither. Only through shareholder pushback in the courts will these publicly held companies get the message. Getting 38 upvotes and 10 downvotes. Also, if you're a shareholder, go ahead and make sure you vote. There are a lot of people on boards of directors that are up for election or re-election who, look at their LinkedIn profile, you'll see they have pronouns in their bio or they are bombastic about certain DEI initiatives rather than focusing on, their core competencies. So again, if you're a shareholder, it is your right. Go out there and vote. And also, you vote with your dollar. If they choose to go down these initiatives, go shop somewhere else. Again, when it comes to Target, there's zero reason to shop at Target. I say that partially because I'm frugal as hell, except when it comes to like business things. But again, there's nothing at Target you can't get at Walmart for a fraction of the price. And Walmart just said a couple of days ago they're rolling back their DEI initiatives. Now, of course, we'll see how all this goes in practice. They're all saying it out loud. We'll see. The future will tell how true are they to their word. Get one or two more comments here. Peter says, Target is a business whose mission should be to maximize profit. But I will say this, if the profits from selling the same LGBTQ/BLM merchandise had exceeded the lost business from the boycott, I would have said it'd been a good business decision. They got 26 upvotes and 6 downvotes, which, yep, that is true. I would argue it's still not their core competency in terms of what they should be focusing on. But again, there are some companies out there who will increase their sales and market share because of DEI and ESG and Double Banana Falcon initiatives. Again, there's a market for that. I don't think on a mass scale in the United States right now, that's a big enough market to sustain most major businesses. Especially since we saw Trump not just win the Electoral College, but win the popular vote. I think that in and of itself, that's going to push some businesses away from these type of controversial stances. And again, I'm going by order of these likes. So we're looking at the top comments. Haven't found a lot of them are really happy about Target. Let's see. Bruce said, quote, great ruling. Target hid from the investors and risked their money. All companies should not be involved in any politics to avoid risking a loss of 50% of the population. No CEO owns a company. They are employees of the company. It's the shareholders that are owners. Now, that got 14 likes and 3 down likes, which, yeah, the shareholders are the owners of the company. Now, in terms of getting involved in politics, I kind of think that's kind of, in a certain way, it's inevitable in the United States right now because the U.S. government is so bloated and ridiculous and has so much control over our lives and our businesses. You do have to be somewhat involved. So, for example, if a company is making something like a firearm company, which again has become a political thing in the United States, where Democrats want to take guns away, Republicans want to, well, mostly let people have their guns, with some rhinos wanting to take them away. But there are some industries where I understand why they might make political donations, because those politicians will help fight for their businesses to make sure they're not, well, detrimentally overtaxed or destroyed or overregulated. Again, the U.S. government is so fat and bloated, and regulations are, I mean, talk about dictionary or just encyclopedia length of regulations in the United States. I understand why they have to get involved politically from a certain perspective. When it comes to activism and more customer-facing activities, yeah, I think on average it is probably best to go away from that. And I'll do one more. Kevin says Walmart. Geez, again, not financial advice. I wish I did. I'd say sorry, it's 2020. Kevin says Walmart stock is up 79% this year. Gee. Those Target employees and execs who own some Target shares, you're down 8 points this year. Wonder how they'll justify the DEI push when the Christmas bonuses are gone and yearly raises don't happen. They got 34 upvotes and 5 downvotes, which, yeah, I've been really impressed. Again, Walmart has half the profit margins of Target. Granted, much larger volume, but yeah, I would never thought this. Walmart stock has skyrocketed. Again, almost 80%. That's insanely good, being the S&P 500, which, again, not financial advice. But yeah, I've been pretty impressed with Walmart. We'll see how they do from a growth perspective in 2025. But yeah, they continue to be one of the best retailers, bar none, and one of, if not the only retailer I actually go and actually spend money at personally. But yeah, it looks like all the comments are in agreement. Now, the real question is, if the shareholders win this lawsuit, it is possible we never see another major business do a DEI initiative. Because again, while it can be tough to show single variable, you have to be careful when you have single variable analysis, and there sometimes it can be tougher or easier to show a direct correlation between a DEI initiative and sales. Bud Light being the easiest one to prove, where there's a direct correlation to losing $1.2 billion in sales after they spent $185,000 on Dylan Mulvaney. That is pretty easy to show the correlation. But if they can really prove it, yeah, it might just disappear that category from business activities altogether. I'm a little skeptical. We'll see how it plays out, but let me know, do you think at the end of the day will Target win the lawsuit, or will the shareholders? Then what do you think would be the ripple effect, culturally speaking, with all the other companies? Let me know, because as always, be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have the Jaguar Type 00 in Parisian gold is roasted because, yeah, they don't deserve a gold trophy. They don't even deserve I venture to say they don't even deserve a bronze trophy. If anything, they deserve, what is most useless? A zinc trophy, which is the cheapest, most useless metal I can think of, which is also perhaps a good metaphor for the U.S. monetary system, since pennies are 99.99% zinc and rudimentary just simply copper plated today, which is a good metaphor for our monopoly money, unfortunately. Now, this comes to us thanks to Jaguar themselves. That sad cat, what was once a proud company making works of art on wheels, is now making glorified bastardized looking toasters that looks like a knockoff Rolls Royce. Now again, this is a prototype vehicle, but they say it's going to inspire the next generation of EVs, which they're also going all EV. You thought Jaguar was unreliable before? Oh yeah, it's going to be worse than anything now. Now, this is straight from their X-Twitter account saying, quote, Jaguar 00 in Parisian gold, which I guess if you're somewhat inebriated just a little bit, you would think that was a toaster from the first picture, which perhaps a toaster mated with a Lennox air conditioning unit. Nothing wrong with Lennox, an exceptional Texas-made product, but not something I would put on wheels or take inspiration advice or inspiration from in regards to, designing a car. And yeah, the headlights look like the smallest of rectangles on the planet. Yeah, pretty disgusting. And then from the side, it looks just like a bastardized Rolls Royce. Is it the Spectre? I admit Rolls Royce is probably one of the brands I know the least about, because they haven't had a manual transmission in decades, and I prefer performance over luxury, but I partially digress. It looks just like the Rolls Royce. They basically just knocked it off. And in terms of a like ratio, I don't want to say this is the worst, but it is terrible. It got about 1 million views, but 5.8 thousand likes, which is, statistically speaking, that is terrible. Not to brag, but I got 5 likes on video last week. Sure, one was probably from myself, but still, that's 4 awesome people. So if you can go ahead and click this button, the like button, I greatly appreciate it as well. I mean, statistically speaking, we won't get more likes than this, but, I mean, who doesn't love a statistical outlier? Now, go to the comments. One of the first ones comes from the W Cappy saying, quote, "Where's the one in black?" And it looks like a bastardized Batmobile, getting 50 likes. Thomas King says, "Used to make beautiful, elegant cars." Got 940 likes. What's that, like a 1990s Jaguar with the original hood ornament that looks good on it? Oh, jeez. What? Sick T says, "Huh?" And it's Diane Feinstein looking, well, that was right before she passed away, getting 24 likes. T3 simply has a laughy emoji, and there's a Teletubby Photoshop next to the Jaguar concept, getting 501 likes. James Dirk Douglas says, "RoboCop becomes reality? Question mark. Looks like it's just a concept vehicle called the 600 SUX, which can't be real in terms of like a nomenclature. No, it is. Oh my gosh. Looks like one of the cars from... Oh, this can't be real. Is it a commercial from RoboCop? There's a car... Yeah, this is too cool to be a real commercial. There's a car about to hit Godzilla, and it says the 6000 SUX. It says an American tradition getting 8.2 miles per gallon. Yeah, car company... But except for Tesla, no car company would be that bombastic or hilarious the commercial. They should at least get our attention, but no, that's got to be from like the RoboCop movie. Got 10 likes. Woke in column says Jaguar Mpox in Provocanton Batoni. And it says 2025 Jaguar Mpox, and it's a rainbow. It looks like a knocked off Volkswagen, but it says it's a little rainbow car. I only got 1 like. Blind Observer says, quote, "Jaguar literally started a campaign to bankruptcy, getting 584 likes." Let's see. Ron, the only comment I see that's not derisive, says, quote, "When can we see the car you plan to actually produce?" I got 499 likes. And Jaguar says, "Our 4-door GT will be revealed in late 2025. Watch this space." Hunter says, "Show us a real production car," getting 413 likes, which, I mean, they should be getting close. They've been retooling the factories and trying to build stuff, and they took a year off because their cars are selling so poorly in 2024. So they should be getting close, but no, not so much. Scrolling down more and more. The Dukes of South Africa says, quote, "Control C, Control V, tagline, copy nothing," which, yeah, that was hilarious. Jaguar's whole mantra for this whole campaign was copy nothing. And yet, this is, if you look closely, on top you see the Rolls Royce, and on bottom you see the Jaguar concept. And yeah, it looks just like the Rolls Royce. All I did was flatten the roof by about maybe 2 inches lower. And yeah, that's about it. Removed the tail light that curved over the back a little bit. And added the Puma looking logo, which again doesn't look like a Jaguar at all. And removed the Rolls Royce logo, which yeah, it looks just like that. And that got 654. Let's make it 655 likes. Yeah, I'm not seeing. Yeah, I'm not a single person saying, "Oh golly, can I put down a deposit?" One would. Yeah. What's this? Douglas Bonneville says, "It's like the two-tone option. I designed it in 2nd grade in the 70s, but now it's time." It's the, is that Bic? Remember there's that cool pen back in my day where you had the 4 different color inks in one, and it was a blue, shaft with a white circular top of the clip on it. Those used to be really cool. Do they make them still? Went to check out the electronicbay.com. But yeah, that got 9 likes, and kind of does look like that from the side profile. So, and Jaguar continues to be roasted and continues to, yeah, just flop into obsolescence. So we'll see if any new post from Jaguar, pulls him out of this tailspin. But pretty skeptical. I think this is going to be one sad cat. We might have to we'll have to let go soon. But let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Jackson Brown comparing trans kids to interracial marriage. Because, yes, she is that mentally vacuous. We should know this. She is the individual where, when Biden was looking for Supreme Court justices, he broke the law federally by saying he was going to choose someone based on their race and their sex. Remember, Biden said, "I'm going to choose a Supreme Court justice who's a black woman." If he was smart, he would have said, "I want to take if he was smart and moral, he would say, I'm going to take every single resume possible and choose the most exceptional candidate for the job. The most proficient one. The one that is in accordance with the Founding Fathers and Constitution." He chose the antithesis. He chose someone who does not believe in the Constitution, and someone who is so mentally vacuous that when she is questioned under oath, when they're nominating her, they asked her, "Can you define a woman?" Her answer, which shows she's either mentally vacuous and or in the cult, she said, "I'm not a biologist. I can't say." Let that sink in for a second there. There's someone on the United States Supreme Court who can't define a woman. Yeah, I want to say our country is screwed, but thank God there's a majority on the Supreme Court who are constitutionalists, where Trump chose people who would actually believe in the founding fathers' ideals and the U.S. Constitution. Now, this comes to us thanks to Cat Turd on X, and he says, quote, "What an embarrassing idiot." Wait, check. He was not community noted because fact check, true. Now, he was responding to Greg Price, who said, quote, "Ketanji Jackson Brown just compared bans on sex changes for kids to bans on interracial marriage," which, yeah, I was going to say mostly. It's mentally vacuous, but it's only about a minute long, so we'll hear what she has to say.
Being drawn by the statute. That was sort of like the starting point. The question was whether it was discriminatory because it applied to both races and it wasn't, necessarily invidious or whatever. But, as I read the statute here, the case here, the court starts off by saying that Virginia is now one of 16 states which prohibit and punish marriages on the basis of racial classifications. And when you look at the structure of that law, it looks in terms of, you can't do something that is inconsistent with your own characteristics. It's sort of the same thing. So it's interesting to me that we now have this different argument, and I wonder whether Virginia could have gotten away with what they did here by just making a classification argument the way that Tennessee is in this case.
Yes, I think that's exactly right, that there is absolutely a parallel between any law that says you can't act inconsistent with a protected characteristic.
Yeah. Pushing your kids is not a protective characteristic. People are born in different races. Unless you're leftist, you think it could change that. But no one's born, get things chopped off and hormones injected into them. Yep, she's on the United States Supreme Court. Yeah, and if you ever read her summaries or her opinions, they're equally as mentally vacuous. And this is what happens when you don't pick the best person for the job. When you don't pick the most qualified individual, you get this, which is just an activist disguising as a judge, disguising as someone who has competence. Now, you got about 500,000 views and 29,000 likes. One of the first comments comes from Cruel Christian Engineer, which A+ for marketing, exactly what he does for a living and who he is, says, quote, "She lacks the qualifications of a biologist and should be removed herself from the case," getting 94 likes. Vince Langman says, "Dumber than a box of rocks," which I'll give him a like. Though that might be a little discriminatory, my pet rock might be offended. I think actually my pet rock, statistically speaking, would do better on an exam where they asked what is a woman. My pet rock would get the same exact test score as Ketanji Jackson Brown, because they both would, write nothing because they don't know. So I think you could argue she is on par with the intellect of a pet rock, statistically speaking. Now, scrolling down, you have Thompson B saying Ketanji Jackson magnifies the issue of DEI. And they have her quote saying, "I'm not a biologist," getting 44 likes. Goat Guy says, quote, "Definitely not a valid argument, especially from a member of the Supreme Court. One, if you're under 18, A, most things in life, sorry you're not mature enough. B, life-altering medical procedures, come on in. The world is on the edge of total insanity," unquote, getting 50 likes, which, yep, it's a simplistic argument, but I think it is valid that, again, you don't let kids smoke, you don't let them get a tattoo, you don't let them make life-altering decisions when they're under 18. Ridiculous. One Kakaman says, quote, "How do we get stuck with these morons?" Get 50 likes. Well, leftists and Democrats. Joe Biden appointed her, and they voted her in. Let's see here. Mag1775 says, quote, "Ketanji Jackson Brown Jackson is completely out of touch. Comparing the bans on child mutilation to bans on interracial marriage is not just absurd, it's an insult to the very fight for civil rights. This is a desperate attempt to push an extreme agenda that harms children, not moral." Getting 28 likes. Logan Backstein says, quote, "She needs to get checked for mental illness. No way she has a high enough IQ to be on Supreme Court justice." Getting 70 likes. Oh, fact check, true. Let's see here. MAGA's The Fix says this is the result of a stolen 2020 election. Stolen elections have catastrophic consequences, getting 34 likes. Red Text Truth says, "Yeah, the DEI useless piece of garbage has no business on our courts. If you can't tell what a woman is, how can she tell what a sex is?" True, getting 42 likes. Good question. See here. Really creepy AI-inspired picture looking of Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka in all green. And it's from Jim Schmidt saying, quote, "Genitals don't define gender. How does removing them affirm it?" Getting 23 likes. Let's see here. Joseph Douglas says she is a low IQ and obvious DEI hire. And before you call me racist, this is my preferred SCOTUS. It says liberals, conservatives are racist. Conservatives, and it says juxtaposed with conservatives saying the ideal Supreme Court. Let's see. And look at all the comments; they're all giving him accolades. And it's just a copy paste of Clarence Thomas, which, as youth might say, he is based. So not too many contrarian statements, if any, here, actually. And yeah, I'm not sure if she would be ousted from the Supreme Court, but yeah, just tell your average friends, like, do you realize or do you know there's someone on the Supreme Court that doesn't know what a woman is? I wonder how many people really understand how scary that, how detrimentally bad that is. But let me know your thoughts are in the comments, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Danny Penny's prosecutor admits she gives preferential treatment to marginalized criminals. With, yet another reminder, New York City has a brand. It's a crime and lawlessness, and the good guy is being punished. Daniel Penny, as a reminder, is a former United States Marine who was on a subway when a career criminal, started to be bombastic and aggressive towards other people there. He tried to subdue him to save the other individuals from any harm, and, the person happened to pass away because he was pass away. Now, this person was arrested 76 times. Of course, Democrats let him out of jail immediately. This person also beat up grandma, not my grandma, but an old lady multiple times, assaulted old women. Yeah, New York City has a brand. Now, this comes to us thanks to and wokeness, in which she says, quote, Daniel Penny's prosecutor openly brags about giving preferential treatment to marginalized criminals. And something about, now, I apologize. I should have put a visual disclaimer, because this individual not just is morally disgusting, but also viscerally disgusting. It's almost as if Carrot Top started to transition and consume a copious amounts of inebriated drugs, which, it's quite horrifying. That's, coming from me. It's, got a Carrot Top hair and glasses, and let's hear what she has to say.
So I'm going to give you an example of something that I did with a recent case of mine, and this has never been done in my office.
Because it's illegal.
I had a murder case where the defendant did not intentionally kill the victim. He went into an ATM on the Upper West Side and tried to rob.
Well, this shows how mentally vacuous she is. Legally in the United States, again, I'm not a lawyer, though I do own a suit. If you don't intend to kill someone and they pass away, that's called involuntary manslaughter, I believe. If it's murder, that's the definition of murder is planned. It's intentional. So she's not even using the correct vernacular, or perhaps she just doesn't know any better.
He went into an ATM on the Upper West Side and tried to rob an individual. Unfortunately, it was an older individual. He was 86, and in the course of the robbery, he fell to the ground, and as a result, he died. This is, under the law, a felony murder, which is akin to intentional murder.
I'm in jail forever.
However, when I first got the case, I learned, I took the time to learn about the defendant, and it was a strong case. So it wasn't about a whodunit. I knew immediately who did it. I could prove it. I could take it to trial that day and win it. But it wasn't about that. It was that the more I learned about the defendant and his
For Carrot's Chop next trick, he will make justice just appear.
Life and the circumstances, the kinds of things that Jarrell was talking about, that one should take into account the trauma of that individual.
No.
I really felt incredibly sorry for him that he had gotten to that point in his life where he felt like there was no other choice but to commit this robbery.
Yeah, you know who you should feel sorry for? What about the person who died? What if they had family or what if the individual had family members? You should feel sorry for them. As someone whose life was taken from them. You should feel sad for the friends of the individual whose life was stolen from him. And yet, no, she feels bad for the perpetrator. Ridiculous. Now, this went pretty well. Got 1.2 million views and 20,000 likes, and is reminder number 12,958,735,403 to not visit New York. Ridiculous. Also the place where they shove people in front of subway trains. Was it like 23 times in 2024? And what was the arrest rate? Conviction rate? Yeah, New York has a brand. Eric Adams, you are certainly right. I do agree. He derisively said, said Nebraska didn't have a brand. I would rather live in Nebraska. I would choose Nebraska every single time versus New York in terms of where I want to live or conduct business or expand my businesses. Now, going to the comments, one of the first ones comes from Elon Musk saying, quote, she's openly racist, getting 8.6 thousand likes. You have Gunther Eagleman saying, quote, this woman should never be in a position of power, gave 1.6 thousand likes, which, again, is supposed to be impartial, not giving preferential treatment to scumbags who take someone's life. Paul Zupa says, quote, she needs to be indicted and lose her license immediately, getting 341 likes. Let's see. Mega Mind 1776. A+ for marketing. The profile picture is in fact of a face with a flag on it and a MAGA hat. That got, quote, this individual says, quote, she feels sorry for the murderer, not the 86-year-old man who is murdered. This is disgusting, getting 1.2 thousand likes. You have Just a Girl saying, quote, it's because of sick, woke prosecutors like this that no one wants to be the right thing anymore and do the right thing anymore out of fear of prosecution. Daniel Penny is a hero. She is a criminal lover, getting 568 likes. Yep. The foe says, did she take time to learn more about the 86-year-old man he murdered? This is a horrible woman, getting 574 likes. Stella says, mistrial if the judge doesn't recuse herself, then Daniel Penny's attorney must call for mistrial, getting 704, so I get 705 likes. Going down more and more. Marie says, oh look, another woke prosecutor treating people unfairly, getting 326 likes. Captain Dreamer says, it's pure sickness, getting 377 likes. See. Oh, jeez. What movie is this? I forget it. It loses me at the moment, but it has to be some pop culture movie way back in the day. We have an individual with a very large forehead and orange hair. I only know it's a thing because I saw a Family Guy parody years ago. This comes from Just a Dude saying I can't unsee this and making fun of her looking like that, getting 93 likes actually. Let's see, and not too many contrarian statements here. Junia General 2 says woke leftist prosecutor should be prosecuted herself, getting 72 likes. Which, yeah. I mean, the only reason not to live in New York is if you need another one. And it's sad that, again, in the United States, it seems like the bad guys get all the benefits and the good taxpayers are the ones getting the short end of the deal. But let me know, do you think she will recuse herself? Do you think Daniel Penny will actually get a fair trial? Let me know, because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the business blunder of the day, you have cucumber recall expanded to now 35 states. Now, this comes to us thanks to Scripps News, which they say, quote, massive nation recall of cucumbers expands after 68 illnesses reported. The FDA says recalled cucumbers have stickers that include Sun-Fed Mexico. There you can see cucumbers in case you don't know what they look like. Although, F- for marketing, where's the sticker of the actual company that's behind this? Yeah, I want to see their logo to make it a little more recognizable. Nevertheless, this comes to us, again, thanks to Scripps News staff, saying, quote, a massive recall has expanded, making it more likely that you purchase cucumbers that contain salmonella. The outbreak expanded to 2 more companies. According to the Food and Drug Administration, the cucumbers were grown in Sonora, Mexico, and sold to 3 companies between October 12th and November 26th. The recall now covers 35 states. 68 people have reported ill from salmonella. Thankfully, silver lining, no one has been recorded to have passed away from this yet. 2 of the companies issued recalls for all sizes of American slicer cucumbers. The 3rd company, Russ Davis, also recalled products that contained the affected cucumbers, such as salad dressings and wraps, which, man, I never realized cucumbers were in salad dressings. I guess the more you know. You see that recalled cucumbers should be thrown out or returned to the point of purchase. You also have a quote, from the FDA saying, this is Balation Farms. We at Balation Farms are working in conjunction with our grower with the FDA to protect consumers and customers. Food safety has always been a top priority, and we want to provide safe and nutritious food to our families and customers. Again, that is Louis Corella, the president of Balation Food Farms of Arizona, continues saying, quote, we have been working diligently with the authorities and the implicated farm to determine the possible source. Now, the FDA says the recalled cucumbers have a sticker that includes Sunfed Mexico. And again, purchased between October 12th and November 26th. FDA is also encouraging consumers to wash away any surfaces that come in contact with the recalled cucumbers. And again, it looks like the illnesses in terms of the ailments, you get fever, cramps, a little diarrhea. But again, thankfully, no one has been, their life has not been ended prematurely because of a specific product recall. But again, I'm not sure. Again, we've seen this similar recall going with other beef and food, meat products, and it seems to just be growing exponentially. I don't know who's in charge of quality control of these companies. I mean, shoot, at this point, I think if it has anything to do with being eaten, you might as well just test it for that, because it seems to be, it seems like so many food products are being flagged and recalled because of the salmonella outbreak. So hopefully these companies are bolstering those practices and those testing procedures, so they don't have to other companies don't have to do the recall. But yeah, and all the news, how do you not do more testing with this? Again, silver lining, no one's passed away from this, but still, 68 people have been ill. It's now in the majority of the states in the United States. So yeah, gotta say, what is this? The Sun Mexico? Gotta say, your cucumber recall. Well, that is certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 4,000 subscribers by Christmas. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.